Imagine a faith that teaches all religions are chapters of the same book, that science and religion must work together, and that global unity isn't just possible, it's inevitable. Today, we're exploring the Bahá'í Faith, one of the world's fastest growing religions that's reshaping how we think about spiritual and social progress.
And what's fascinating is that this isn't just another religious movement, it's a complete reimagining of how humanity can organize itself in our modern age.
Let's start at the beginning. The Bahá'í Faith emerged in Persia, now Iran, in the mid-1800s. Can you tell us about its founders?
Well, the story begins with a remarkable figure known as the Bab, which means the gate in Arabic. In 1844, at just age 24, he announced a new message from God and began preparing people for an even greater messenger who would soon appear.
And what happened to the Bab?
It's actually quite tragic. Despite attracting thousands of followers, he faced intense persecution. According to historical records, more than 20,000 of his followers were massacred, and he himself was publicly executed in 1850.
That's devastating.
Yeah, but here's where the story takes an incredible turn. Among the Bab's followers was a nobleman named Mirza Hussein Ali, who later became known as Baha'u'llah, meaning glory of God.
And he was the one the Bab had prophesied about?
Exactly. In 1863, Baha'u'llah announced that he was the universal messenger of God that the Bab had foretold. Despite facing 40 years of exile and imprisonment, he wrote extensively, producing what would become the sacred texts of the Bahá'í Faith.
You know what strikes me as unique? The fact that this is such a recently established religion, yet it's already spread to more than 200 countries.
Yes, and what's particularly interesting is that it's actually the second most widespread religion in the world after Christianity in terms of its geographic reach.
Let's talk about what Baha'is actually believe. What are the core teachings?
At its heart, the Bahá'í Faith teaches the fundamental oneness of humanity. They believe that all people are created equal, regardless of race, nationality, gender, or social class.
That sounds pretty progressive for something that started in the 1800s.
Oh, absolutely. And here's something fascinating. Baha'u'llah taught that religion itself evolves. They call it progressive revelation.
Can you explain that concept?
Well, Baha'is believe that throughout history, God has sent a series of divine educators, Krishna, Moses, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, and others, each bringing teachings suited to their time and place.
So they don't see these different religions as contradicting each other?
Not at all. They view them as chapters of the same unfolding story. Think of it like education. You don't teach calculus to kindergartners, right? Humanity progresses spiritually just like we do intellectually.
That's such an interesting way to look at it.
And you know what's particularly relevant today? The emphasis on the harmony between science and religion.
Really? How so?
Baha'is believe that science and religion are complementary ways of understanding truth. If religious beliefs contradict scientific facts, they say those beliefs should be questioned.
That's pretty radical for a religion, isn't it?
It is, and it extends to their approach to education, too. Universal education is actually a core principle of the faith.
Speaking of education, I've heard they have some interesting views on women's rights.
Yes, the Baha'i teachings explicitly state that women and men are equal. There's this beautiful quote from their writings that says, "Humanity is like a bird with two wings. One is women and the other men. The bird cannot fly if one wing is weaker."
That's a powerful metaphor.
And they put it into practice, too. The Baha'i community has been actively promoting women's education and equality since its inception.
Let's talk about their approach to unity. How do they view diversity within unity?
This is really interesting. They use the metaphor of a garden. Unity doesn't mean uniformity. Just as a garden is more beautiful with different flowers, humanity is enriched by its diversity.
But how does that work in practice?
Well, Baha'i communities actively work to eliminate prejudices of all kinds while celebrating cultural differences. They don't seek to make everyone the same, but rather to appreciate and learn from our differences.
You mentioned earlier about their temples. What's unique about them?
Oh, Baha'i temples are fascinating. They're all nine-sided with domes, and each one incorporates architectural elements from different cultures.
Why 9 sides specifically?
9 is the highest single digit, symbolizing completeness and unity. And here's something cool. These temples are open to everyone, regardless of faith.
That's consistent with their inclusive philosophy.
Exactly. And you know what's particularly striking about their community life?
What's that?
They have no clergy. The faith is administered through elected councils at local, national, and international levels.
Wait, no clergy at all?
Nope. They believe that in this age, humanity has reached the maturity to take direct spiritual and administrative responsibility without needing an intermediary class of priests.
That's fascinating. How do they make decisions then?
Through a unique process called consultation. It requires everyone to share their views with complete honesty and detachment while remaining open to others' perspectives.
Sounds challenging.
It is, but they see it as essential practice for building unity. Once a decision is made, everyone supports it, even those who initially disagreed.
Let's talk about their vision for the future. What do Baha'is believe about where humanity is heading?
They believe we're moving, albeit through difficult times, toward an age of global unity. They see our current period of chaos and upheaval as part of humanity's collective adolescence.
Adolescence, that's an interesting way to look at it.
Right? Just like teenagers go through turbulent times before reaching maturity, they believe humanity is going through a similar process on a global scale.
And what does maturity look like in their view?
They envision a future where humanity recognizes its oneness and organizes itself as a global civilization, while preserving cultural diversity.
That's quite optimistic given the state of the world today.
Well, they acknowledge it won't be easy, but they point to how humanity has already united at various levels, from families to tribes to city-states to nations. Global unity is just the next step.
How do they suggest we get there?
Through what they call the twine processes of integration and disintegration. As old systems that don't serve humanity break down, new ones based on unity emerge.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about how social media has broken down old communication barriers while simultaneously creating new challenges. The key is to focus on building new systems while old ones naturally fade.
That's a really interesting perspective on change.
And what's particularly remarkable is how they're putting these principles into practice in their own communities worldwide.
As we wrap up, what would you say is the most distinctive aspect of the Bahá'í Faith?
I'd say it's their vision of religion as progressive and evolutionary, combined with their practical approach to building unity through concrete action at the grassroots level.
It really challenges our traditional understanding of religion, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It offers a framework for seeing humanity's spiritual and social development as one integrated process.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode podcasts. Whether you're religious or not, the Bahá'í vision of progressive revelation and global unity offers fascinating insights for our increasingly interconnected world.
And perhaps their metaphor of humanity's collective adolescence gives us hope that our current global challenges are not the end of the story, but part of our growth toward maturity.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration of a faith that sees unity not just as a distant dream, but as the next inevitable step in human evolution.